Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
We're going deep today
Oh yeah.
into the world of online comments. You know, YouTube comments, forum debates, just like the raw, unfiltered thoughts of everyday folks.
Sounds juicy.
Oh, it is juicy. And I think you're going to be surprised by some of these little gems that we found.
I'm intrigued. Let's do it.
All right. So expert speaker is here with us to unpack it all.
Absolutely.
And hopefully find, maybe a little method to the madness.
All right. Let's see what we can unearth.
Right. Okay. So straight off the bat, we saw a lot of back and forth about what makes a good job these days.
Mm-hmm.
And, one commenter even joked about wanting like a hard-ass job.
Okay.
But get this, as long as it came with 150 mandatory vacation days.
Wow.
Like something about medieval peasants having it made.
Really? Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me how that comment, even though it's humorous, it kind of taps into this very real yearning for work-life balance.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think it's kind of counterintuitive at first because it's like wanting a difficult job. But it speaks to this idea that people want their work to have meaning.
Right.
They want to feel satisfied and like they're contributing.
Yeah.
But they also want to have a fulfilling life outside of work.
Totally. It's like they want the satisfaction of a hard day's work.
Exactly.
Without, having to sacrifice their entire lives for it.
Yeah.
Which, who doesn't want that, right?
Right.
Makes you wonder, though, have we maybe romanticized the past a little too much here?
It's a good point.
Because, let's be real for a second, those medieval peasants weren't exactly, kicking back for months on end.
Definitely not. And someone else actually pointed that out.
Did they really?
Yeah, like on top of those 150 days, they often had to pick up extra work, to make ends meet.
Oh, wow.
Plus, they had obligations to their lords and the church.
Right.
It wasn't all sunshine and roses.
So not exactly a walk in the park.
Not even close.
No, not even a little bit.
But, I mean, it definitely puts things in perspective, right?
For sure.
It seems like this idea of a good life, it's always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing's for sure, the economic realities of today, like, they're really weighing heavily on people's minds.
Absolutely.
We saw a lot of comments from folks like this one commenter, Pride004.2, I think was their username.
Okay.
And they were saying that, they identify as Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about how the trades, which used to be, a good career path.
Yeah, like a stable, good way to make a living.
Exactly. They haven't kept pace with inflation.
And that's something that we see reflected in a lot of the data, too.
Is there really?
Yeah, you see this real wage stagnation.
Wow.
Particularly in those blue-collar professions.
So, the cost of living keeps going up.
Right.
But wages for a lot of those jobs, they haven't really kept up.
Yeah.
So people are feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Or even worse, like they're actually losing ground even though they're working just as hard.
It's like the harder you work, it almost feels like the further behind you fall.
That's the perception for a lot of people.
It's so true. And it's not even just the trades that are feeling the squeeze.
Right.
We saw a ton of comments about what it's like to be a UPS driver.
Oh, really?
Which, you always hear about that being like a good, stable career path.
Yeah, you would think so.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But people are talking about intense pressure, high injury rates, like really long, grueling hours.
Yeah, we're seeing the reality behind the image.
Yeah.
And it's definitely causing a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
I even saw one comment that claimed that like 80% of UPS drivers don't even make it past 7 years because it's so demanding.
Wow.
And it really challenges that whole narrative, right?
Good one.
That hard work equals a good life. If you put in the time, you'll be rewarded.
Right.
But people aren't seeing that anymore.
Yeah. And you can really feel that resentment, like bubbling up in a lot of these comments.
Wow, yeah, for sure.
Do you remember that one that got a ton of likes?
Which one?
It was something like work harder. You know who's not working harder?
Oh, let me guess.
The investors that are just like siphoning off all the extra wealth.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah.
And it speaks to this larger theme that we see in a lot of these comments.
Like that.
This feeling that the system is rigged.
Oh, totally.
Like it's not even just about working hard. It's this sense of disillusionment, this distrust.
Yeah.
And it's not limited to just work or the economy.
Right.
It kind of seeps into every aspect of their lives.
And, speaking of things that get people all fired up, let's talk about food.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we found a whole bunch of comments debating like everything from meat eating to, financing Chipotle with those buy now, pay later apps.
It's funny how charged food choices have become.
Yeah, right?
Like you take the comment section on Jason Thrash's carnivore diet videos.
Yeah,
It's not even really about the food itself,
What is it about then?
It's about personal freedom, like taking control of your health.
Yeah.
And maybe even this like distrust of conventional dietary advice.
It's like food is the new battleground for all those personal beliefs.
In a way, yeah.
And I mean, you got people out there like swearing by the carnivore lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, I
which
see.
saying it cured their arthritis and everything.
Yeah, and then you have others who think the whole thing is just completely insane.
Totally.
But I think it speaks to something we're seeing more and more these days.
What do you mean?
It's like people are looking for solutions outside of the traditional systems,
Oh, interesting.
whether it's healthcare, finance, you know, even just the way we structure our work lives.
It's like a do-it-yourself kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. Like there's this desire to take control,
Right.
especially when it feels like those old ways aren't working.
Yeah, and speaking of not working,
Yeah.
that comment about using buy now, pay later for groceries,
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
it's like really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because it highlights how much of a struggle food affordability is these days,
For sure.
especially with the cost of like everything going up.
It all ties back to that economic anxiety we were talking about.
Doesn't it?
When people can't even afford to put food on the table, it's no wonder they're looking for other solutions.
Or feeling like the system's rigged against them, right?
Exactly.
It's a good point. And, you know, it's like, it's not just about the cost of food either.
No, it's everything.
It's everything. Like
Yeah.
we saw people complaining about those sky-high concert ticket prices.
Oh, right. Those were wild.
And you know what else? There were comments about Ticketmaster being a monopoly.
Ah, yes, of course.
Talk about distrust in institutions.
Right. That's a big one.
And it's not just Ticketmaster either.
Oh, no, it goes way beyond that.
Right. It's like the governments, big banks, even like the Federal Reserve.
People are skeptical.
Yeah, they are. And they have been for a while.
It's true. You see that distrust bubbling up everywhere these days.
Yeah, like, do you remember that comment from Danny?
I don't think so.
It got a ton of likes.
Okay, what did it say?
It was something like, the economy is working perfectly
Okay.
for the people who make the rules.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that one.
Right. It's like, that just sums it all up.
Pretty much.
And, you know, it's not just this, like, vague feeling of distrust either.
It's deeper than that.
It is. People were pointing to really specific things.
Like what?
Like all those stories about the Pelosi family's investments.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's like, they think the system is totally rigged against them.
Well, and whether those perceptions are accurate or not,
Right.
it just goes to show how deep that skepticism runs.
For sure.
Especially towards people in power.
Totally. And, you know, it's like everyone's looking for clues,
What do you mean?
trying to figure out what's really going on with the economy, you know?
Okay.
Like there was this one commenter,
Yeah.
they were saying they noticed fewer FedEx planes in Memphis.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they took that as a sign that a recession is coming.
Wow, they're really reading into everything.
I know.
Well, it makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Why?
I mean, think about it. There's just so much information out there these days.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
Exactly. And people don't know what to trust.
Oh, I know it.
So they're turning to their own observations, you know?
That's true.
They're trying to make sense of it all on their own terms.
It's like they're playing economic detective or something.
In a way, they are.
And you know what I thought was interesting?
What's that?
Like a lot of these anxieties, we're seeing this distrust.
Yeah.
It's not even new.
Really?
We actually found comments from as far back as like 2007.
Oh, wow.
And they were saying a lot of the same things.
About what?
About the economy, the cost of living. You know, just this feeling of being left behind.
So it's not just a recent thing.
It seems like it's been building for a while.
Interesting.
It's like these anxieties are kind of just woven into like the fabric of our time, you know?
Yeah, it's a sign of the times for sure.
But I think what I found really interesting is how people are responding to it all.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Because it's not all just doom and gloom in these comments.
Okay.
There's also a lot of talk about solutions, you know?
Interesting. Like what?
Like people taking action, trying to find ways to regain that sense of control.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. And it seems like a lot of people are looking for those solutions outside of those traditional systems.
It's that do-it-yourself spirit again.
Totally. Remember that comment about that guy who like bought a whole cow from a local farmer?
Oh, yeah, for like a crazy good price.
Yeah, it was something like $250 for the whole thing.
Wow.
So like talk about taking food affordability into your own hands.
Right. No middleman, no grocery store markups.
Exactly. And you know, it makes you think about all the different ways people are finding to kind of like adapt and overcome these challenges.
I love that.
Me too. And it's not even just about making ends meet either.
What do you mean?
We saw a lot of comments about people starting their own businesses. you know?
Oh, yeah, like side hustles and stuff.
Totally. Or like investing in their passions, learning new skills.
It's like they're taking control of their own destinies.
That's exactly what it is.
Which is inspiring when you think about it.
It really is, because they're taking that feeling of being left behind.
Yeah.
And they're turning it into like fuel for innovation.
That's a great way to put it.
Although I have to say, some of the comments took a more, let's just say, opportunistic approach.
Oh, like what?
There was one that I remember, it was like, this guy was saying he was actually hoping for a recession.
Why? That seems counterintuitive.
Right. But he was saying that he was going to use it as an opportunity to like boost his investment portfolio.
Ah, so he's playing the long game.
Yeah. But it just highlights that disconnect, you know?
Between.
Like Wall Street and Main Street.
Oh, totally.
Like, while some people see a recession as like a potential investment opportunity,
Right.
others are worried about losing their jobs, their homes, you know?
It's two sides of the same coin.
It really is. And it just goes to show how complex all of this is.
Absolutely.
But you know what I will say?
That.
Even with all the anxiety and frustration in these comments,
Yeah.
I found this like underlying sense of hope.
Really?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
people genuinely want a more equitable system.
It's that desire for fairness.
It is. And it goes beyond just economics.
Oh, for sure.
We saw comments about everything like transparency and government ethical business practices, affordable health care. Like the list goes on and on.
People are hungry for change.
They are. And I think that's what gives me hope. You know?
Oh, too. It's like even in the midst of all this uncertainty and chaos,
Yeah.
there's this underlying belief that things can get better
I love that.
and that we have the power to make it happen.
So I guess the big question is, where do we go from here?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It kind of is.
But I think these online conversations, even though they can be kind of messy and chaotic,
It can be.
they give us this really valuable glimpse into what people are thinking and feeling.
Yeah, like the collective consciousness or something.
Exactly. And by listening to those voices, you know, by really digging beneath the surface of these conversations, we can start to understand the forces that are shaping our world.
And hopefully find a way to navigate them together.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to everyone listening, keep those conversations going. Share your thoughts, your experiences, your hopes, your fears, because the future isn't something that just happens to us.
We create it together.
I love that. This has been The Deep Dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.